Hi, I'm Dave from boyinaband.com and welcome to day 2 of the 7-day song on Psytrance. Yesterday in day 1, we made a sweet Psytrance beat. Today in day 2, we'll be delving headfirst into some acid. This may sound unwise, but I assure you it'll result in some awesome bass synth sounds. So, let's get to work. Combinator, mixer, Thor, initialize, open, brace yourself for awesomeness. We're going to name this before we forget as well. Acid bass. Then 2 analog oscillators are the order of the day. One saw for sharpness and the other one sine for bass. And I'll just add in some notes now, which I'll explain in a bit. Okay, so I've put in the notes. Take a listen. No, we're not making progressive grime. It will turn out a bit better in a bit. So, let's start. Well, we've already started, but let's carry on by hitting the 2 button here to send it through. And we're going to right-click and create an arpeggiator, monophonic arpeggiator. If you didn't get that joke, don't worry. It took me at least 5 7-day songs to realize it. And then we turn it to 2 octaves and 4 to 2 mode. And this will make any notes you play repeat at the rate defined, in the octaves defined, with the pattern defined. It's fun to play around with, and you can get some nice results relatively quickly. So, I'll just mute the drums, we could take a listen to the bass on its own. Pretty cool, huh? But it's not very bassy, so let's take down the octaves 2 on each oscillator. Bass-tastic. Now, let's move on. The filter frequency here should be set around 260 Hz, so let's take it right down. That'll just stop that cheeky high end poking through, and then we're going to take the resonance up to about half, and this will start that acidic stuff. Yeah, you'll find yourself coming across a lot of resonance in this genre. It gives everything this high-pitched sharpness that just can't be beat, and it's essentially feeding back a part of the sound into the filter again, resulting in this high-pitched tone. This is why when you take it to full, it makes that loud sound reminiscent of a guitar feedback sound. Or an overexcited budgie. So let's take this envelope up a little bit to about half, just to give the attack of the synth some sharpness, and this allows the filter envelope down here to control the filter. And this decay amount controls how much of the high end is let in before the filter closes up. So I'm just going to move it down a little bit, show you. Really acidic, but I'm just going to leave it near the middle here. But if it happens to move, I won't tell anyone if you won't. For some extra harmonic content in the tone, we're going to turn on the shaper here and take the drive up to half. Try out all the shaper modes, each one has a different tone to it, but I'm going to stick with soft clip, but I'll just show you some of the others. You've got to be careful with some of these, because they take away the bass end of it when they distort it, so you might want to run the bass through here into filter 2, so it doesn't go through the shaper, and cut out all that nice bass tone. So lastly, we're going to make the resonance move a bit, so there's some texture to the synth sound. So turn LFO1 here to the slowest tempo synced rate, so tempo sync on, and rate 4 to 1. Then in the deceptively difficult looking MBR section, modulation bus routing section, set source as LFO1. Amount is about 70, 75, somewhere around that. And the destination as filter 1, resonance. See? Not that hard at all. Check it out. Hear that acid creeping in there? See? Not that hard. The MBR is kind of like a Telford resident. It may look scary, but it's actually quite friendly when you get to know it. Next, let's chuck in, right-click, create, M-class equalizer. And we're going to boost around 250 Hz, quite considerably. About 12 decibels. and widen it to about 2.3. So without that, and with it, it just brings up that lower end. And lastly, we're going to add a bit of space to the top end of the synth with an RV7000 after the mixer up here. Right click, create RV7000 advanced reverb. We're going to dial it in with a quarter aux. And we're going to turn it to all CL mid-hall, because I like it. But of course you can choose whichever one you want. But it will upset me if you choose something different. So now we've got that. If we open it up, look at EQ. That acidy bit is so cool. Anyway, we're going to set the EQ down the bottom to -18, so there's nothing affecting the low end. And we're just going to bring up that high end a little bit. So, without the reverb, with it. You can hear it just gives it that airy roominess, which will sit nice and subtly at the start of the track, when the bass just kicks in for the first time. Now for those notes. And here they are, in all their glory. I've simply used C and C sharp to make a minor sounding synth. And these alternate slightly before the beat loops round. If I zoom in here, you'll be able to see that. See, it goes back down to the C just before the second bar. And I think that just makes for a slightly more interesting hypnotic rhythm. The arpeggiator ARP does most of the work for me here. Later on I can change to some different chord progressions if I want to. But remember, in this genre there isn't a massive amount of melodic variety. It's more about layering and repetition to build an entrancing piece of textured music. So, there we have it. If I bring back in the percussion. Sweet! A bass more acidic than a vinegar and car battery smoothie, which is incidentally my favourite. Join me tomorrow for day 3, where I'll be exploring some lead synths to accompany our bass line. Bye bye!